up, guys? This video is gonna be about conversions. So this is our first video on AP Physics 1, or just physics, and this is a very basic topic. But for those of you who are struggling with conversion rates, this is gonna be a short video on that. So this is our first problem: 15 kilometers to blank miles. All right, so 15 kilometers. What is a kilometer? A kilometer, right? So 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. So this is going to be a short lesson for y'all. We know, hopefully you guys know that a kilometer is bigger than a meter. A meter is about 3 feet, right? A kilometer is, people intertwine, use miles and kilometers. So a kilometer is around that size. So a kilometer is way bigger than a meter. That's all you need to know. So because the kilometer is the bigger value, right? So we'll do an up arrow. Kilometer is greater than meters. Meters is the lower measurement. So we need more meters to equal the bigger value, which is a kilometer, right? So you'll always see this in conversions. They need to balance out. So the value is going to be less on one side and greater on the other side, where the actual measurement that we're using is going to be greater on the opposite side and then lower on the other, the corresponding side. So what we have here, because kilometers it uses the word kilo. So kilo means 1,000. Kilo means 1,000. That's why it's 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. It's the same thing. Kilogram. A kilogram is going to be 1,000 grams. So oftentimes you guys understand the 1,000. So you'll know that kilometers is 1,000. So say we have 10 kilometers. Now, oftentimes people will get confused whether we multiply by 1,000 or divide by 1,000. So it always depends on what we're doing. So if it's to meters, then we're gonna multiply by 1,000 because meters are less than a kilometer. Therefore, we need more meters to fill up a kilometer. A very easy way to think of this is gonna be a ruler. So if you're on the American system, then we have 12 inches in a foot. The foot is bigger, okay? So a foot is about this big, inches about this big. You need 12 of these inches to make up that 1 foot. And there we see it again. So the foot is bigger, the inch is smaller, therefore we have more inches and less feet, okay? So it's always opposite. Now, so when we're over here, 10 kilometers are bigger, which means that this 10 is smaller. And then we know that meters are smaller, which means this value has to be bigger than 10. That's how we know whether we're multiplying or dividing. So we know it's by 1,000 because it's a kilo. We're involving kilos, so it's 10 times 1,000, which is literally just 10,000, okay? So that's a very easy way to understand our conversion rates. So I'm going to erase that for y'all. If you need to watch that again or just play with it yourself, it always works. So now we have 15 kilometers. This is just 1, right? So if we go 15 kilometers, then we have to just multiply by 1,000, right? Because here was multiplied by 1,000. So we're multiplying by 1,000 again here. And 15 times 1,000 is just 15,000 meters, okay? So we're turning that into meters. The reason why is because in this problem specifically, we're actually given this. So I'm sorry, I didn't give us all the information that we needed. One mile. Sorry, so it should not 1 mile. It's 1 mile. So 1,609 meters is equal to 1 mile, approximately. So That's why we're converting this kilometer into meters right here. Sorry if that confused you all. Why we were doing that? That is why. We're given this 1,609 meters is equal to 1 mile. We're converting to miles, but this is in kilometers. So kilometers is being converted into meters. And then we're going to solve that to find miles. So what we're going to do here, we have a relationship between the 1 mile and the 1,609 meters. So they're one team. Now they're equal to the other team. We have 15,000 meters, right? Which is equal to this number, 15 kilometers right here. And now we're solving for the amount of miles, but we don't know. So we'll say X miles. So what we have to do when we have this set up, it doesn't matter which order. You could have the 1,609 on the top and 1 mile, and the 15,000 on top and the X miles on the bottom. All you need to do, make sure like this is one team and this 15 and this is a team right here. Okay? Once we have the teams, we separate them with the equal sign, and then what we're going to do, make sure each term is on the same side. So miles is going against miles, meters is going against meters. Now, once that is set up correctly, what we can do is cross multiply. So it can be 1,609 times X, right? So we just did this times this right here. We're not focusing on the variables. And then now we're going to do 1 times the 15,000. Sorry. But we're cross multiplying like that. You see how it makes an X? Cross multiply. And now what we're going to do is 15,000 times 1 is literally just 15,000 again. And then we just solve for X. So we're going to divide by 1,609 on both sides, which makes X equal to approximately 9.32 miles. If you got something similar to that, it could be because 1,609 meters is not exactly 1 mile. So it might be a little bit different, but it should be very close to this number right here, 9.3 something. So that is our answer. 9.32 miles is what we got. Okay, sweet. Let's get into more examples. Okay, so in this problem, nothing is given. Hopefully you should know the conversions in this problem. So just off the top of your head. So 1 day is equal to seconds. How do we get that? Well, first, the day is longer than the second, right? Which means this 1 is going to be lower than however many is in this. So that means that whatever we're converting to, our conversions are going to be multiplied. So 1 day, hopefully you guys know that 1 day is equal to 24 hours. Okay? So that's pretty easy. Now, 24 hours is equal to, we're basically just trying to get this closer and closer to seconds until we get there. So we just went from day to hours, right? So day is bigger, 1 day is bigger than 1 hour, which is why we have more hours to equal to that 1 day, right? Now, so 24 hours is equal to minutes. How many minutes? So in 1 hour, is equal to 60 minutes. Hopefully you guys know that. So because of that, right, it is a multiple of 60. So we multiply by 60. So all we do is do the exact same thing. From hours to minutes, multiply by 60 to get the amount of minutes. So it's 24 times 60. 24 times 60 is equal to 1,440 minutes. So we're going to write that over here. 1,440 minutes. Okay? Now, we have in 1 minute, so now we're getting down to seconds, guys. 1 minute is also 60 seconds. So it's 60 again. So we're just multiplying by 60 again. So if you guys could have seen that pattern earlier, we actually could have just multiplied by 6 times 6, which is 36, and then add the 2 zeros. So 3,600. We could have multiplied 24 by 3,600, but this is the easier and safer way to do it. Just do it what's comfortable for you. So 60, right? So 24 times 60 is this many minutes, 1,440. And now we're going to go from 1,440 minutes to seconds. So keep in mind, this 1,440 minutes is equal to this 1 day right here. Is equal to how many seconds? All we have to do is multiply by 60, because there are 60 seconds in a minute. A minute is greater, right? So our second is lower, so this number must be greater, that number must be lower. So we're multiplying by 60 because the number has to be bigger than the 1,440, and that is going to give us 86,400 seconds in 1 day. And that is our answer. So we'll just plug that in right there. Boop. I don't want to write it again, but that's our answer right here. Okay. We're going to do one more example. All right. And for our third example, we have 20 meters a second to miles per hour. So MS is always going to be meters per second. MPH, hopefully you know, is miles per hour. So I know it's M and M again. You should know MPH is miles per hour. You'll always see this M divided by S is meters per second. If it was miles per second, it would be MI. So we have 20 meters a second, and then now we have to convert that into miles per hour. So how are we going to do that? First, let's find how many miles per second that is, and then we'll convert it to hours. So 20 meters a second, we know that there's 1,609 meters in a mile, right? We're given that. You don't have to know that off the top of your head. But we need to find 20 meters in a mile. So let's do it the other way around, right? So I'll show you that you can do it both ways. 1,609 meters, 1 mile, is equal to, right? We have 20 meters. How many miles is that? So what do we have to do? Cross multiply, right? It makes an X, like the multiplication symbol. So we're multiplying 1,609 by X, which is equal to 20 times 1, which is just 20. Now divide by 1,609 on both sides, right? So obviously this is a very small number being divided by a big number, so we're going to get a very small decimal here. And that's going to be 0.0124 miles, okay? It's X miles, so X is equal to miles. So that's how many miles are in 20 meters. Now, this is right now, this is 0.0124 miles per second. We need miles per hour. So if it's going that distance in a second, how much distance is it going to go in an hour? An hour is longer time. So how far will you run in 1 second? Maybe like a foot, like a couple feet. You'll get one stride in. If you ran a whole hour, you would run several miles. So you run a much longer distance in a greater amount of time. So that's how you have to think about it. So we're going this many miles in 1 second. In an hour, we're going to go more miles. So that's why we're going to multiply in this scenario. First, let's just go to minutes. So we're just multiplying this by 60, right? But also remember in the last one, if we multiply by 60, we get minutes. We multiply by 60 again, we get hours. 60 times 60 is just 3,600. So what we're going to do is literally just multiply this by 3,600. And we get straight to our answer, which is going to be 44.75. I believe that's correct. Let me check my calculator. 44.64. So it's close enough. And the reason why is because 1,609 meters is not exactly a mile. But whatever happens, for example, right, so this is 44 point, what we get, 64? This has to be your answer in class, always. Because your teacher is going to give you something like this, right? Where 1,609 meters is equal to 1 mile. That's the conversion rate you're using. Don't use, like, if you memorize the exact thing, that's probably not what you're going to want to use. Unless it's not given. If this is not given at all, then you use what you have to remember. But in this scenario, they'll always give you the value. And then that's what you want to do the math with. So this would actually be our answer right here. That's the exact answer what I just underlined, but the box answer is the correct answer for this scenario. So 44.64 miles per hour.